they got the knowledge you crave. Hard hitting insight gonna make you win. Listen up closely, let the games begin. Top pick sleepers every week I spin. The FF universe here to help you win. The fantasy football universe.
What is up? Welcome into the double FU, the FU times 2, the fantasy football universe ahead of week 1. We are here talking everything fantasy, but today I think we're going to get into some bold takes. This, of course, is the FFU Roundtable show. We have kind of a topic here on these shows on Saturdays. We run them every Saturday at 3 p.m. But not only do we kind of go through some of the most pressing fantasy topics here with whoever is available from the FFU, but we also answer any and every question that you have regarding starts, sits, trades, and any other decisions, drops, ads, waivers, those sorts of things. Whatever you have, throw it in the chat. We always get to it, and we appreciate you guys here joining us. Jamie is always joining us. What is up, Jamie? Thank you so much. Ryan is always joining us. Ryan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Nothing. It feels like I'm a new regular now. Feels nice, but I'm eager to get into some hot takes today. We've already seen so much in the first 2 days of NFL action. We see Xavier Worthy be a big hit to fantasy teams after that fluke injury with Travis Kelce in the first quarter. It was like third play of the game. Yeah. AJ Brown dropping basically a donut on Thursday night. Like we're 2 games into it, and it already feels like it's a mess. The shenanigans are at an all-time high.
Yep. CD Lamb dropping anything and everything in the fourth quarter. Quinshon Judkins dropping the bags off at the Brinks truck and getting his contract signed. So we have a lot of things going on here. But let's start there before we jump into a couple of our hot takes. And once again, if you're joining us, feel free to just drop any and all fantasy questions you have in the chat, and we'll get to those for you in just a couple of minutes. Ryan, let's start with the Dallas Eagles game. We talked about it together before the game happened. Now we saw the Eagles barely eke it out there. Quick 1-minute takeaway from that game for fantasy.
Kevin Patullo has a lot of work to do with the offensive coordinator. He started out the game pretty hot, and then the schemes kind of felt like they got stale. They put a spy on Jalen, and it was just, good riddance from there. You stop Saquon, you stop Jalen, you're good. But, as for the offensive scheme, I think AJ Brown's a little hurt. I don't know. That hammy might be lingering, but I said on, I believe it was Thursday, that Adoree Jackson was going to be a problem. And he was a problem, all right. He allowed over 100 yards in coverage. I thought it was going to be George Pickens, but Quinyon Mitchell really followed George Pickens around. George Pickens was really on his side of the field most of the night. He had that deep pass interference that was probably a long touchdown. But Eagles have a CB2 problem, so you can start wide receivers against the Eagles with confidence until Jacorian Bennett gets up to the scheme. But he allowed 3 targets and 3 catches as well, so CB2 might be a problem for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I love that take. Something to keep in mind for people playing Philadelphia, because we know the Eagles are going to score. On the flip side for Dallas, Javonte Williams looked good for fantasy because he scored twice. Didn't look fantastic running the football. He was fine. I just think this Dallas offense has a lot of work to do, but Dak will have more time. We know they are pass first. I'm not going to sing the praises of Javonte Williams. I am happy for the player that he looked much better than he's previously looked. But CD is going to bounce back for sure and be even better than he was this week. George Pickens is going to bounce back for sure. And Dak is going to bounce back for sure. I'm not worried about these guys. The Dallas fantasy players playing one of the best, if not the best defense in the league. Let's switch to the other game, though. The game last night in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We have Kansas City Chiefs and we had the Los Angeles Chargers. What did you notice? What's one quick takeaway that you had from that game?
It's got to be Quentin Johnston, right? 2 touchdowns, including the game winner, the game sealer. He looked really good. He was getting a lot of separation last night. The Chargers are going to air it out. Omarion Hampton is a little shaky of a debut for a stats perspective, but on the film, watching the game, he looked pretty good. He looked good in pass pro, which that's always going to get you reps. So we'll see how that situation shakes out. But as for Kansas City, Marquise Brown is the guy you're going to want. He had 16 targets last night? Incredible.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Travis Kelce looks like a shell of himself. He only got there because he was left completely wide open. And other than Hollywood Brown, who is taking over the Xavier Worthy role, who is taking over the Rashee Rice role, they really don't have anybody else in the passing game worth your fantasy salt. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster might be a desperation deep league ad.
Here we go again.
But otherwise, Travis Kelce, you're just crossing your fingers and praying. Hopefully you have another tight end in redraft because I don't know. He does not look like, he very much looks like a player in decline. I know it's week 1, but we saw all of this from Kelce last year. So that's my biggest takeaway. And without Kelce, it's going to be a problem for Patrick Mahomes, especially without all of these other pieces. On the flip side, real quick for the Chargers, you mentioned QJ. I think QJ is a mirage. I think he just happened to be wide open. We saw him catch 2 touchdowns. We saw him catch footballs. He never looks good catching a football. So that's a big problem for me. It always looks like it's going to fall out of his hands. But then, of course, Keenan Allen with the touchdown. And then you had Ladd McConkey doing Ladd McConkey things. Amari Hampton looked fine. He'll get better. Really tough run defense. We were talking about fading him already. Hopefully you did. And if you had better option, played him. But, you get 10 points, you get 10 points. Let's move on to some of these questions, Ryan. Here's one from Jamie. Damian Pierce, Tahj Brooks, or Blake Corum. It's a 32-team league, so you got to play one of these guys. I have a clear answer, but who are you looking at here?
I mean, I really want to say Damian Pierce because all he has to do is beat out Nick Chubb. I mean, Woody Marks feels like a non-factor. Excuse me. Tahj Brooks, maybe. That'd be the close second, and then Blake Corum and dead last. But I think Damian Pierce has the chance to be the starter, although if Chase Brown goes down, Tahj Brooks could get a hefty role.
Yep. We're in lockstep on this one. Damian Pierce, for me, is the guy to pick up out of all of these Houston backs based on cost and the fact that he's probably still on your waiver wire. As of Tuesday, when I did the waiver wire short, he was only 15% owned across all sleeper redraft leagues, and that was in half PPR, and that's where I prefer him. Look, Nick Chubb is the guy. It's just, the coaches aren't ecstatic about Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is 30 years old, I believe. If he isn't, he certainly looks like it on the field. So I am with you there. Jamie says Hollywood could never. That's a Sammy Watkins trap. You may be right, but there's nobody else.
There's nobody. Who's he going to throw to? Juju? Yeah. 10 times a game? I mean, Travis Kelce's probably going to get there off of volume alone, but he doesn't look good.
No.
He's probably going to get there. What other choices do you have? Pacheco didn't look great. He's in committee. We didn't mention that.
All of the dynasty heads are going to be chomping at the bit for more Brashard Smith as he starts to integrate into this offense. He was getting snaps last night. We'll see if he gets integrated. I don't know. But I agree with you. Hollywood is the only guy. At the same time, it's going to be a mirage. And when Rashee comes back, Rashee is going to crush. Saucy Boa joining us. What is up? Got a decision for the flex. Metcalf, Golden, Pollard, Jacoby Myers. Just needs one this week. Let me pull up the matchups as you just kind of matchup agnostic. What do you think here?
I want to say DK Metcalf, but the over-under in that game is so low that it concerns me. It's the lowest of the weekend. I think it's at 37.5 right now. But who else is Aaron Rodgers going to throw the ball to? I mean, 100%. Roman Wilson's going to get a bunch of targets. I mean, Jonnu and Pat Freiermuth are probably going to figure in. Tony Pollard would be my choice because he's going to get all the volume, but Denver is going to be so tough. But then again, you could look at it. I mean, Javonte Williams got the ultimate run out. The Eagles' best defensive player got ejected before the game started. They got to run the ball a little bit. It's tough because he's going to get all the looks. He's going to get that Javonte and Amari and Hampton role that we've seen already, and he's going to get all the carries. But are they going to matter? They're such an underdog in this game. Denver's, I believe, like minus 400 on the money line. So they're not going to be running the ball. Maybe he gets a couple receptions, but I'd say DK barely.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think if you need floor, you can go Pollard. I agree with you 100% that he's scary against Denver. I'll fade him there, but there's nobody in the passing game with him, right? Tyjae Spears is out of this game. Tony Pollard is going to play as much as he can handle here in week 1, and he could get there in the passing game. We know they're going to have to pass a lot. Rookie quarterback Cam Ward maybe will be checking down a lot more than than is normal. That's the one thing I would bank on here. Jacoby Myers' little revenge game against the Pats. That's interesting. Christian Gonzalez out. So that could be a very interesting sneaky play as well. I will err on the side of caution here with you and go DK as well. I probably order them DK, Kobi because of the situation, Golden, Pollard. Pollard would be my fourth one, but I do feel he has the safest floor of all these guys.
I think Golden can be a sneaky upside kind of guy this weekend. I mean, the Lions' pass defense wasn't that great. They don't have much at corner. They have a couple second-year guys that they're relying on. I think Golden could be a sneaky option if you want to do that. I'd probably go Metcalf, Pollard, Golden, Myers, but they're all really close to me. I like the floor of Tony Pollard. If he gets 4 catches and, he gets a lot of carries, you're probably okay with living with it as a flex decision. Okay. But if DK catches a touchdown, he's there. So,
I would wonder if, here's what I do sometimes as tiebreakers. I take a look at the team I'm facing. Right. Almost always you're in a situation where you're going 1-for-1 against another opponent. If they've had some points scored and maybe they're above their expectation of points scored on the week, or maybe they had a down week, maybe no one's played yet, but their team doesn't look as strong as yours. Just use that whether to determine you want to go floor or ceiling. I feel like personally Golden's the ceiling shot. Pollard is the floor shot. Myers is kind of safe-ish in the middle. But like you said, DCAP is very interesting. He's the only game in town, really, outside of Jonnu Smith, I think, who will see more volume than we'd like. And DK is probably the best bet to score a touchdown of all of these guys, given the Pollard matchup against Denver. So good luck, Saucy Boa. Once again, this is your roundtable. We're going to talk about our hot takes now in just a second. But do keep in mind that we are here every single Saturday at 3 p.m. Some version of the FFU is here taking you through a regular show, but also answering any and every question you have for fantasy, start, sit, trade decisions, waiver wire, whatever it is. So feel free to drop those in the chat whenever. We appreciate the questions already. Ryan, let's get into it. We'll get into it with my first take, and then we'll go to 2 of yours. And I tried to order this from like least spicy to most spicy. We'll see how that works out. But we'll start with this one. If I can get the screen correct. This would be my hot take for the season. My first one. If you watch any of these shows, the mock drafts, I've been spouting this nonsense all off season. But based on ADP, it's relatively hot. Travis Etienne was going in the 8th round, really at the earliest. Tank Bigsby at the end of the 9th, early 10th round when it was all said and done. But I believe both of these running backs, and I'm going to go as far as to say in half PPR leagues, are going to finish as RB2s. I think it happens potentially in a couple of different ways. Number one, the offense is a lot better than we expect it to be. Travis Etienne and Bigsby are in the timeshare. They still stay completely healthy. Great. Number two, Travis Etienne and Bigsby have clearly defined roles, and they don't step on each other. Etienne can be the clear-cut passing down back with the team with a terrible defense, so he's going to be on the field a lot. And then Tank Bigsby can score all the touchdowns. They can do it that way. And then the third way that this can actually happen, of course, is if Travis Etienne gets traded. This is something that was being discussed all off-season long. Maybe the regime incoming regime, Liam Cohen and company, does not like the fact that Travis Etienne is who he is and as inefficient as he's been. Maybe he gets moved. A team like Dallas, if Javonte goes down, they have absolutely nothing back there. We saw a shell of Miles Sanders, for example. There's other teams with injury. If Etienne gets moved, both of these guys become a factor in their new team. So I think it's very possible in a number of different ways. But that's my first hot take of the season. What do you think about this?
It's pretty spicy for being the lowest on the ladder, I'll tell you that much. It's basically betting on what we saw last year in Tampa Bay, but neither of these guys become Bucky Irving and become a superstar, which I could see it happening. Tootin's probably going to factor in if these guys are both, ineffective to start the year. So we'll see what happens there. But I like it if Tank Bigsby gets the goal line work and gets the touchdowns, and ETN gets everything in between. I could see it happening.
Yeah, look, we'll see. I think the bet here is, number one, it's on Liam Cohen to figure this thing out, whether he's going to ship ETN off mid-season, whether he's going to be able to utilize both of these guys. Because, of course, we have Brian Thomas Jr. Of course, we have Travis Hunter. I think those guys are going to eat and get theirs. And then you got Brenton Strange, who like him, dislike him, whatever. You see what happens there. But I think both of these guys can carve out a significant role in an ascending offense. So I like it as our first tier spicy hot take. It's very possible. And then, of course, if ETN gets moved, this becomes easier. I love both of them at cost. I'm playing Bigsby this week. They're playing the Miami Dolphins. Is it the Dolphins? No, Carolina Panthers. They're playing an even worse defense. The Carolina Panthers, I think they're absolutely going to crush this week. I would not be surprised if the Jags put up a 40 burger in week 1 here against a lowly Carolina defense. So we'll see. Once again, if you are just joining us, this is the FFU Roundtable. We are here every Saturday at 3 p.m. We are going through our hottest takes of the 2025 season right ahead of game day tomorrow. But if you have a question, please drop it in the chat here. Start, sit, whatever it is. We will do our best to answer it for you. Trades, waiver wire, etc. Let us know what you need to know, and we'll help you out there. With that, we're going to move to the second hot take, which if I can figure it out here, share this tab instead. Did I get it? Hey, all right. This is yours. So why don't you read it to us and tell us what you think and why?
I mean, I think Father Time is sadly going to catch Mike Evans this season. He's been doing it forever. He barely got to 1,000 last season. What was it, like 20 seconds left in the game? And then everyone knew the ball was coming his way, and the Saints still couldn't stop it. That was something else. But I think Egbuka has had one of the greatest runouts of wide receivers and, rookie draft picks we've ever seen in an offseason. Who knows if it's going to translate to regular season? I personally think it does with this hot take, but you have Baker Mayfield talking him up all season. You have that dinner where he brings him up unprovoked. Like, he's just like, Emeka's a really good guy. He's a great football player.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Chris Godwin thing. He's not on PUP, but it still just looks rough for Chris Godwin in the meantime. He's going to have to ramp back up. It's going to take him, in the length of time frame of 8 to 10 weeks just to probably get back to game playing, 100%, probably even more time than that. I think this power slot role in Tampa Bay eats. It always does eat, and it's going to be Egbuka this year, and I think he's going to outscore Mike Evans in every format. I mean, standard, maybe not, but half PPR and PPR, I'd be willing to, throw that one in there as my hot take. But standard Mike Evans still could get there with, 15 touchdowns.
I love it. I love that. The only problem with this take, the only pushback I would give is that, we know Jalen McMillan is on the shelf. Cade Otton has been fine, but nothing special. And Rachaad White is still nursing a groin injury. Now he's going to play, but White, of course, a little bit hobbled as well. So if White is out, we know he's a supreme pass catcher to Bucky Irving, to the likes of Sean Tucker, who might replace them. So that might allow them to go elsewhere a little bit more if White is limited. But I agree with everything else you're saying. Mike Evans absolutely seems to be on the decline. The thing is, the numbers bear out the fact that Mike Evans has been good. The problem last year was the scheme and Chris Godwin. When Chris Godwin was in the game, Mike Evans had 3 more targets than when Chris Godwin when Chris Godwin was out of the game. Mike Evans had 3 more targets than when Chris Godwin played. If Egbuka is slotting right into the Godwin role, which makes a ton of sense, that could be the case. And those targets per game were something like 6.5, 6.6. I forget what the exact number is. So just 6 to 7 targets a game for Mike Evans. Hard for him to get there. Meanwhile, Egbuka sucking up all the volume should be good to go. Hopefully you draft Egbuka. He's going to crush in these first few weeks. Also, fantasy playoffs, Atlanta, Carolina, Miami for these players. So you're going to want to fire both of them up. Mr. Magic, what is up? Thanks for joining us. How's it going? Should he be worried about Pacheco? We we just kind of glossed over Pacheco. You brought him up at the top of the show, Ryan. Why don't you talk a little bit more about Pacheco and your concerns about him?
Yeah, it looks like he's in a timeshare. I mean, Kareem Hunt got a lot of work. Rashad Smith, he said, was factoring in as well. I think it might be curtains for Pacheco as a fantasy starter weekly. So it's just tough because that outside run, I don't think he ran it right. I don't know if you know the one I'm referencing. It was his longest run of the night where Josh Simmons was pulling and he kind of hit the hole wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He probably might have had a
Trying to
touchdown
think.
if he just trusted his rookie left tackle. I know it's tough to
Okay.
do, but I just think that someone else needs to get in here, and I think Pacheco is best served as a committee back, as the second guy in
Yeah.
committee. So
I mean, sadly, that may be the case. Sometimes it's very difficult to come off of these lower body injuries, regardless of what they are for running backs, and be completely the same even a year later. It often takes 2 years. We used to associate this with an Achilles or an ACL, but it seems like if you're talking about a calf, if you're talking about these fractures now that we're seeing, even these high ankle sprains that are very severe, it sometimes takes much longer than we expect. Isiah Pacheco did not look as good as Kareem Hunt looked running the football last night. Kareem Hunt was shot out of a cannon somehow. Pacheco still he's not as explosive, which is crazy.
I think Pacheco is the biggest red flag from the first 2 games out of everyone in the fantasy space, because Travis Kelce will probably get there off of volume, like I said. Outside of the injuries, of course, with Xavier Worthy. AJ Brown will probably bounce back because he's elite. He's just probably nursing injury as well. Pacheco feels like the guy that, is either recovering from injury or just kind of lost his role completely. So he's my biggest red flag from the first 2 nights of games.
100%. That's fair. Chill, what is up? Thanks for joining us. Is Joe Mixon going to play? Not week 1. Is Joe Mixon going to play ever is the question.
That's definitely the question.
Nick Casario said, this is 10 days ago. He said, quote, "We'll see if Joe Mixon plays in 2025. He didn't say that second part, but that was the question. The question was, will Joe Mixon play in 2025? Casario said, "We'll see." He's been super non-committal about this. We know that this has been really up in the air. We don't know 100% what's wrong. It's his foot, it's his ankle. We're not completely clear on what's going on with Joe Mixon. But we know that the rehab did not go as well as we wanted it to go in the offseason. So Mixon we can't rely on. It's Chubb number 1. For me, it's Pierce number 2. It sounds like it's Pierce number 2 for you, Ryan, as well. And then it's Woody Marks number 3. Marks can gain a role, especially if this offense turns more to the pass toward the second half of the year as he gets comfortable. The question is, is Nick Chubb going to be effective? Or will he split more with Dameon Pierce? I think the latter is possible. But the real question here, Ryan, do you think do you think Joe Mixon plays at all in 2024?
No. No, I think it's too ambiguous. If the question is he going to play? And then the answer is, I don't know, 10 days before the season, you could probably wager that he's not going to play, or if he comes back and just doesn't look good. I don't know what the problem with that foot is, but I think he's done for the year. And to the next question, I think he should stash Tyjae instead. I mean, Tajay's coming off that high ankle, I believe. It's going to take a while for him to come back, the 4 weeks and probably a little bit more to ramp up. But still, if it's a PPR league, he's going to be catching passes from Cam Ward. I know Cam Ward doesn't like to check down, but I think in his rookie year, he'll learn to do more of that. So I like Tyjae Spears, solely at the fact he's going to play.
I'm going to go against you there. I'm going to hang on to Joe Mixon and pray. I think Joe Mixon, if he comes back and if he's able to be completely healthy, he should be the one leading that backfield. The question is, will he be able to do that? I've leaned towards your assessment earlier that he's not going to play at all. But if he does come back, he should easily take over from a weathered Nick Chubb, subpar Dameon Pierce, and youngster Woody Marks. But yeah, Tyjae, we have hopes for Tyjae. He's been explosive off of the injury. Will that come back right away? I don't know the offense. So I'm going to go with Mixon. That's a tough one. But yeah, we're all worried about him. Do you see Matthew Golden finishing the year strong? I do. The thing is, Christian Watson will be back. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Will he be completely healthy? I don't know. What are your thoughts on Golden, especially toward the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, they drafted and beat the wide receiver 1 in the first round. The Green Bay Packers do not do this. So they saw something special with Matthew Golden. Christian Watson's going to come back off a torn ACL. Jayden Reed's out here playing with a broken foot. I don't know why he's doing that, but it beats me. I guess get your payday. I understand it from a player's perspective. I don't understand why the coaches would let him do that is more what I'm saying. And then you got Romeo Doubs, who's good for a couple of receptions a game. I think Matthew Golden's going to be the field stretcher, especially with Jayden Reed. Their previous field stretcher having a broken foot, Christian Watson as well being out. So they're going to use him in that down the field role. And Jordan Love's going to look his way. He's a gunslinger. Don't forget
Yes.
that. So I
Yes.
think Matthew Golden's going to have a strong year.
Yeah, I like that as well. He was going, I think, in the 7th-ish round, and I was happy with him there, taking the shot all the way to potentially the 9th. If he falls, we were grabbing him up there. Jamie has 0 Mixon in 200 leagues. That is the way to be. I have a Mixon in a dynasty league or two. It's horrible. Chill says Baker or Kyler this week. Kyler good in the beginning and in domes. The Saints suck, but are you going to play him over Baker Mayfield? What do you think?
I think I have these guys back to back in my rankings, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have them pulled up right now, but Baker has a great matchup against Atlanta. I mean, those games, like I said, always tend to be a shootout. Both games, 50+ points last year total. I think you're good starting either of these guys. I'd start Baker instead, because if Kyler's going to jump on this team, if James Conner gets the touchdowns, Kyler could not be throwing the football, just could be running the football with him and Trey Benson for most of the game and have a fantasy dud. I think that's a underrated thing that not a lot of people are looking at, that Kyler Murray could dud this week. He could smash, don't get me wrong, of course, but if James Conner gets those scores, I think the floor is a lot lower for Kyler than it is for Baker.
Yep, 100%. And I talked about this the other day. 6 of the 7 Arizona Cardinal draft picks were defensive players. That defense came on at the end of last season and looked very good down the stretch. We have a defensive head coach from the Eagles named, forget his name every time. Arizona head coach.
Arizona, Jonathan Gannon. Yeah, they have better defense on paper.
Jonathan Gannon. Yeah, but they turned it on. The defense is looking good. Look, Nolan, Walter Nolan is injured to start the season, but he'll be back as well. Look, I just think that the Saints, led by Spencer Rattler, this is a recipe for disaster. Like you said, I think it's the Arizona run game and the defense, so we'll see. A couple of questions here, but we're going to jump into our 3rd of 6 hot takes, and then we will get back to them. So don't worry, these don't go too long. So stick right here to get your question answered. We'll get to it in just a minute. Ryan, this is another one of yours here.
We have a question in the chat. Thoughts on his outlook?
Hey, look at that. Mr. Magic, look at you. Are we avoiding him at all costs? Ryan isn't. I'm not either. I have a fair amount of KW3 at a discount. Ryan, what do you think about Kenneth Walker?
Look, the concern with Kenneth Walker has never been the talent. He is 100%. One of the highest forced missed tackle rates in the league, I believe, since he's entered the league. I know it was last year at least. I mean, the only concerns are Zach Charbonnet. Will he get a lot of work? And if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, he's probably, this isn't going to happen. But if he starts and finishes the year healthy, I believe he's going to be a top 5 overall running back. I just believe he's too talented. The Seattle run game is built for him. They're building up that O-line slowly and surely. I mean, Cooper Kupp's probably going to be a shell of himself. Who knows how Sam Darnold's going to be? They're going to rely on this run game. So he could – I don't think he's going to get the top 5 if they lean on Charbonnet too much, but I think he's a surefire RB1, and I like him as a top 5 overall running back if he stays healthy. But, that's a big ask from Kenneth Walker, especially with how it finished last season. But I'm all in on Kenneth Walker. The talent's there. And contract year, I believe he's going to be playing for that money. So –
totally agree with this take. I don't think Zach Charbonnet is everybody's favorite later round darling in fantasy drafts. I just don't understand it. I understand it from the perspective that Kenneth Walker will miss 4 games this season and Zach Charbonnet will go off. But I don't want to be praying for or waiting for those games to happen. Or you're hoping on injury. When these guys are both healthy, it's been Kenneth Walker. Maybe there's more of a split. The coaching staff has come out and said as much, but in a Clint Kubiak scheme with Kenneth Walker getting the majority of the touches, sign me up. Sam Darnold, serviceable. Let's hope he learned something from Kevin O'Connell last year. And the offensive line is terrible. So there's also the potential for quick dump offs as well. Top 5, absolutely in the range of outcomes. Kenneth Walker catches the football. He's up there in the upper tier of running backs. He's definitely top 15 when it comes to looks in the receiving game when he's completely healthy. So Kenneth Walker, I agree with this one. I have a ton of Kenneth Walker. That is our outlook there. Let's talk a little bit about some more of these questions. So we got one from Chill. Egbuka or Rome. We just finished talking about Egbuka. I'm playing Egbuka this week. I'm not trusting Rome even against the Detroit Lions. Is Detroit? No, Minnesota Vikings. I'm not sure. Look, the Viking secondary is terrible. We just don't know how these targets are going to, really work themselves out, especially in the first week. Rome has been getting all of the hype in the offseason, as well he should. He's a great player. He's got the connection with Caleb, but Egbuka is just going to see the volume in PPR. I want Emeka. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, Egbuka is going to get the volume. It's a guarantee. Who knows how Caleb Williams is going to play? I don't know if you saw that article yesterday. It was kind of a bombshell article.
Which
I
one?
don't know how much of it was true. The Caleb Williams just going against the coaches and everything. It was a whole big mess about Caleb Williams. I'll have to send it to you on Twitter if you didn't read it. But I just trust Egbuka more. It's Rome could be the wide receiver one there, but we just don't know how it's going to shake out. But we know Egbuka is probably going to be at least the solid number 2 in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and they're going to throw it a ton. Baker looks great. That offensive line, even despite the injuries, is still solid. So I'm happy with that. Quick one about the Cardinals he were just talking about. Walter Nolan is out. Will Johnson is out. BJ Ojolari is out. Bilal Nichols is out. They've got a lot of guys out for this week. It's not ideal, but still they're playing the Saints. I don't care. I don't really care. What do you think? Cardinals top 3 defense this week against the Saints with all those guys out?
Yeah, I believe I have them ranked at 3. So it's just the Saints don't have a whole lot of talent. They're going against a defensive head coach. The only reason I'm not starting them in paid leagues is because I didn't get them because people are really high on them coming into the year. The week 1 match from the improved defense. I am starting the Niners defense. I'm getting ahead of the curve because they play the Saints next week. So I'm all in on the Cardinals defense this year. I think they're going to be impressive, especially if Will Johnson and Walter Nolan play up to the standards they're supposed to.
100%. And Nolan might take another week or 2 to come back, but once he comes back, that guy's a beast. We'll see how it all shakes out. Speaking of the Cardinals, starting Greg Dortch over Jayden Reed. That's a bridge too far, my man Jamie, but 32-team league, I get it. I'm still going Jayden Reed. He's going to get it out. Who do you like, Dortch or Reed?
Jayden Reed, barely, though. I don't because Jayden Reed could reactivate that foot really easily and just be out for the whole game.
Yeah.
So
100%.
It is a big game against Detroit, so I'll go Jayden Reed barely.
Very scary stuff. Let's see. We got a few more here. I think we got a Keenan Allen question. I'm just searching for it.
We do. It's there. I saw it.
I just see Chill saying Keenan. Oh, here we go. All right. Engineer says, who would you pick up, Keenan Allen or Hollywood Brown off waivers? It depends what you need. If you need the longer-term play, I'm going Keenan. Hollywood becomes irrelevant once Rashee Rice comes back. And Xavier Worthy, I'm assuming it's going to be a 3-week injury. It could be longer-term if he needs surgery. But, yeah, I'm going Allen here. Who do you like, Allen or Brown?
I like Keenan Allen. I think he's going to be involved the whole season. He looked good. He provided a lot of juice to that Chicago Bears article in one night. I'll tell you that much. But I'm going Keenan Allen. He's back. Yeah. Congratulations to anyone who drafted him late in best ball or redraft and stashed him, because you're going to have a weekly flex play for the rest of the season as long as he's healthy.
Chad agrees. He does need to stay healthy. Niners or Rams defense this week. Tell us who the Niners play. Remind us of that.
The Niners play Seattle, I'm pretty sure.
And Rams at home against Houston. Niners on the road at Seattle in division matchup. I want the Rams. I get it, Sam Darnold, but you're going in 12th man. I'm going with the home team. I'm going with the Rams. How about you?
Mr. Magic just said what I was thinking. You want to get ahead of things because the Rams do play the Titans next week, so it's kind of a decent matchup, but
nice.
I want to get ahead of it. That's why I have the Niners defense in my home leagues. They play the Saints next week, and I think they have a favorable matchup in week 3. I'm going to check it out here real quick. But that week 2 matchup against the Saints, they play the Cardinals, so it's all right, but it's not the greatest. You're probably going to drop them. But I like getting ahead of these things, especially later in the year when the playoffs are on the line. Sometimes in my home leagues, like the high money ones, I drop an extra flex player and try to get ahead of the week defensively. So I'll pick up, if it's like week 13 and say the Niners play the Saints next week, I want the Niners for that playoff matchup in week 14 or week 15. So I'll pick them up early, relinquish a bench spot, but then I'll have my starting defense for the next week and then replenish the bench spot or rotate the defense in. So I'm going with the Niners.
And let's remember, as Mr. Magic reminds us, that Robert Saleh is back as defensive coordinator. That worked so well a few years ago. He had some different pieces there on defense, but he was it was the reason why he got that Jets head coaching job. Kyle, we see your question. We'll get to it in just a minute, but we got to get to our fourth hot take here. So as I put it up, this is my favorite one, but I don't think it's my spiciest one because I think other people might think it, but let's have a look. You already know Jameson Williams, and I put in total points here on purpose because I feel like saying in points per game could be a cop-out if Jameson Williams gets injured, or if there's other guys who are, who are playing the whole season or whatever it is. I felt like that would be a cop-out. Jameson Williams is a wide receiver 1 in total points in 2025. We've heard the drumbeat all offseason. We know what's going on in Detroit with the loss of Ben Johnson. At the same time, Sam Laporta has a ton of volume. Amon-Ra has volume to spare, 13 touchdowns last year as well. Isaac TLaw is getting a ton of hype, but Jameson Williams is one of the most explosive players in the game. Jameson Williams had, I think it was just 7 touchdowns last year and 1,000 yards on 50. I know it was 58 catches. It was like 1,058 yards and something like 7 touchdowns. And he was the wide receiver 19. Let's give him 10 total touchdowns on the season. He missed 2 games as well. So let's give him a full season of play, roughly. Let's give him 10 total touchdowns. Let's give him 1,200 yards. That gets him to a wide receiver 1 finish. Maybe he's 11 or 12 back end. He's got to stay healthy, but I think it's absolutely possible. So much so I'm banking on it. Not the number 1 overall, but a wide receiver 1 in 2025. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on board with it. I mean, I think that defense still needs to get back to strength with all the injuries they suffered last year. There's still some guys coming back from some knee tears, other injuries. It'll be interesting to see what Jared Goff does without Ben Johnson, but I think Jamo is going to be the guy. If they're down, you're going to chuck up a deep ball to Jamo and hope he catches it or outruns the guy. So I like it. They expanded his route tree during the offseason. At least that's what they said. Who knows if it's actually true or not. We'll see on Sunday against the Packers, but their secondary is weak as well. So I think the wide receiver 1 campaign kicks off this Sunday at 4:25 Eastern.
And look, I think it comes at the expense of Sam Laporta. I don't think it really comes at the expense of Amon-Ra, but he had volume and touchdowns to spare last season. And I really don't think David Montgomery is going to be as much of a factor. It's going to be a clearer Jahmyr Gibbs. They want to keep him healthy, but you just have to give the ball to your best players. Those best players are most athletic players are Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams by a ton. Amon-Ra is always open. I don't see why Sam Laporta, I don't see why Isaac TLaw, earning 60 targets would even factor in to this situation. He's basically the production of Khalif Raymond in this offense. If he plays his full allotment of snaps, give me Jamo all day, every day, but I already have him. So you don't have to give him to me. He's on every one of my rosters. He was an auto pick for me in the 5th round. Jamo switched to number 1. Love it even more. He is the number 1. Usually we don't like this, but if you're going from number 9 to number 1, I like it. Do you like the number change?
Yeah, I like the number change. There's a couple of number changes out there that are a little sus, but this one's I can get on board with.
100%. The only thing better would have been a straight 0. But
Jahmyr Gibbs took that though. He switched to that. So
Gibbs. Well, hey, listen, 2 best players, 0-1. I love the look of it. Kyle, thanks for waiting. Let's get into it here. And in fact, just for this one, we'll get Ryan's face in the screen.
That's a rough start to the weekend.
Yeah. So start 2, we got Keon Coleman, we got Khalil Shakir, and Jacoby Myers. Remember, Myers playing New England. I think that game is in New England. I'll double check that. The Bills are playing who now?
Bills are playing the Ravens on Sunday night. That's going to be one heck of a game.
And they are at home. So, yes, the game is in New England. So, Kobi goes back home to his former home to play the Patriots, and then Buffalo at home against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I'm not playing 2 Bills. Are you playing 2 Bills?
I am thinking about it with the scenario that he's in with down to 35%. He had 2 duds at wide receiver already.
Fair.
Do you just hope the Bills run out there and score 40 points on this good Ravens defense? I mean, it's a tough ask, but at the same time, it feels like he's getting down to a little bit of a Hail Mary here at 35%.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that much because the other guys' players could have duds too, but I'm thinking about it.
Well, I hear that, but I think you're limiting your upside here. You need upside, right? If you're going to come back, you're basically asking both of these players to score at least one touchdown, another player to score 2 touchdowns. Um, and the fact that they're on the same team against a Baltimore Ravens defense that isn't terrible, it's not great, but it's not a team that will necessarily give up a ton. And we know Josh Allen loves to run the ball himself into the end zone, so. I'm going to go upside. I'm going to go Keon Coleman over Khalil Shakir. Shakir, of course, rehabbing from that injury, so who knows what level of percentage of health he actually is. And then Jacoby Myers, I'm going to take the Myers shot there as well. So I'll go Coleman, Myers. What's your final answer here?
Yeah, I'll agree with you here. I mean, if he had another dud, say like an AJ Brown on top of Pickens and Worthy, I'd just say go for it with Coleman Shakir and just hope they score 50 points. But you don't need it's tempting. I'll go Coleman and Myers as well. Myers is probably going to give you 10 points, and Coleman, if he scores, I think he's the most likely to get in the end zone of the two. So,
well, so we're both saying Coleman. Make your pick of Shakir, Myers. But of course, with Amari gone, they really don't have anybody else there. Myers is going to see a ton. They're basically the same. I think Myers gives you a better chance to score. So we'll see. Brian Robinson Jr., new San Francisco 49ers running back 2. So says Kyle Shanahan. Is he a league winner, Brian?
I mean, can I answer this question at 4:30 on Sunday? I mean, CMC said he was feeling good last year, and then boom, Jordan Mason RB1. So, I mean, maybe.
Crazy stuff.
I think I'd say no, because I think Garendo is going to cut into it if it's those two.
Agree.
So I'm going to go no, but it's a heck of a value if CMC has to miss time.
100%. DJ Moore or Tet, I think was the easy one for us.
Yeah, Ted.
It's always Tet. The answer is always Tet. Sorry, DJ Moore. You're great. Chill knows what's up. It's always Tet. We don't need to talk about that much more. Play Tet. Could Pollard have a decent game? We talked about this earlier, Mr. Magic. He could get there in the receiving game. I think Denver shuts down the run, although the Tennessee offensive line is improved. Could be a nice situation. Now they have a threat back there who can throw the football. Maybe Denver kind of backs off. We'll see. What do you think? Pollard, good, decent game, or is it completely shut down?
I think he's going to have a decent game just off of volume. He's going to have to get there. This Titans team is going to have no chance at all because Cam Ward slinging it in his first NFL start. Who knows? Maybe he's the guy and he comes out and proves us all wrong week 1. But I think Pollard's going to be a heavy dosage of the game plan. And you could stumble into some luck like we saw with Javonte Williams getting 2 touchdowns in the matchup that he probably wasn't, going to do that. Although is Zach Allen going to get DQ'd in the first snap of the game? I don't think so, but I'll say decent.
Yeah. Saucy Boa had this question earlier. But yes, and we mentioned it then, but yes, Christian Gonzalez is out. Patriots railing a little bit. We don't know how long he's going to be out. It's kind of a week-to-week sort of thing. Could be a couple of weeks. But for week 1, that bodes well for Myers. Another reason to pick him over, whatever's going on in that Baltimore secondary. They never know what's happening. Tillman or Jeudy, easy one. Get out of here, Jamie. It's Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy going to crush Tillman. You hope he catches 2 deep balls. It doesn't matter. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. Both will probably do well. I'm still going Jeudy. Who do you like better?
Yeah, I like Jeudy. I'm one of my bets this week. One of my, underdog bets is the Browns money line. I think they win outright.
Yeah, they definitely could. I had a thought about Quinshon Judkins. I think there were probably a number of factors at play, and the reason that he was signed earlier today as opposed to earlier on. Of course, one of those could be waiting for the NFL's investigation and to figure out what they're going to do suspension-wise. Another one could have been, the fact that they had to come to this agreement and there was this time crunch pressure to get it in under the season. So it could have been like a lawyer sort of situation. But of course, the Browns need to sell his jersey tomorrow. So they need to make sure that QJ is signed to the team. But then, of course, maybe this is the ultimate Browns gamesmanship, Jamie, just trying to make sure that since he doesn't know that QJ is going to get the ball 20 times tomorrow.
That would be insane. I mean, shout out to everyone that picked him late in redraft. In my one home league, I got him in round 10. I just stashed him. Nice. So it's one of those things where he's going to get the ball a ton of times. But is it going to be tomorrow? Probably not. But
right. Yeah, and I still like Sampson over the course of the season. I think with injury, he's a viable backup. Jerome Ford is a nothing. Will Jerome Ford be the guy next week? It's possible, but I think Dylan Sampson's been there all offseason. He's clearly the better back between himself and Ford. And so I think Dylan Sampson sees plenty of work in week 1. Cincinnati just so awful at defense, and they didn't do anything to get better. Let's run now to our 5 of 6 hot takes, and it's going to be mine. It's going to be Mark Andrews finishes as a top 3 tight end on the season. Mark Andrews last season, it was a tale of 2 halves for him. Over the first half, we know he was recovering from an late off-season car accident. We know that he was rehabbing. It was some sort of a lower body injury that he had the previous season before. I believe it was a fracture, but I don't remember exactly what it was for him. And then, of course, there was just kind of this, is he healthy? Is he not? He looks slow. What's happening? That was the first half of the year. Second half of the year goes nuclear in his last 9 games, scores 7 times, but had to live off of that high efficiency. Ended up with 11 touchdowns in a bad year. I just think that's this offense, this team wants to run through Mark Andrews in the receiving game. Zay Flowers, I feel like, is overblown. He's a great talent as far as a fantasy producer. I don't see it. He doesn't score touchdowns, 5 and 4 over the last 2 years for him. Mark Andrews, for me, is the focal point of this offense once again. In the passing game, of course, Derrick Henry and Lamar show, but finishes as a top 3 tight end on touchdowns, but also on yardage. I think he gets there. 800 yards should be well within the range of outcomes. What do you think about Mark Andrews?
He's got a lot of making right to do after the end of last season. I'll tell you that much. That Bills game.
Okay. He dropped the ball. He lost. But look, do we care about him losing the playoff game for his team in fantasy football? No. Motivation.
Nah, I mean, but still, I can get on board with this. Like you said, he's the guy. Zay Flowers is a nice complimentary option as well, but they have nothing really behind that. I mean, I'm a big Rashad Bateman truther, but I wanted him to get out of Baltimore, man. I wanted it, but it sadly isn't going to happen. But Mark Andrews, top 3 tight end, I could easily see it. He's going to get the volume. Maybe something happens to one of the tier 1 guys in the top 3. You never know. Maybe it just doesn't run out for him right. Maybe Brock Bowers kind of disappoints in the second year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's going to have to be one of the avenues for this prediction to happen, or George Kittle's going to have to get hit by Father Time.
Yeah, good. Or bust.
Yeah. So I could see Mark Andrews a top 3 tight end, especially if he keeps getting those touchdowns.
Yeah. And what's crazy about last season is Lamar had, all right, so Derrick Henry had 16 rushing touchdowns, right? Lamar had what? How many? 4 of his own. But you know who had the most receiving touchdowns of 41 Lamar Jackson touchdowns? It was Mark Andrews with 11. Rashad Bateman, who you mentioned, had 9. That seems high for Rashad Bateman. I don't think he replicates that. Isaiah Likely, who's already injured and not playing week 1, only had 6. You expect him to be kind of the red zone jump ball guy. Now we got DeAndre Hopkins in town. Who knows if he's able to be like Keenan Allen, like these guys who are defying Father Time at the moment.
You saw that tweet, right?
No, which one?
Oh, it was some fantasy account 2 days ago. He's like, week 1's back, so don't start AJ Brown. Sit him, start like Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, and he said Hollywood Brown. He's like, you got to be kidding me today. After the games last night, everyone's like, I'm sprinting to get DeAndre Hopkins.
Amazing. Follow that guy. He's gonna blow up. He's the new fantasy guru. But yeah, I don't see it. I think Mark Andrews is quite clearly the focal point of this offense. Still, he proved it at the back half of last year. We get a full season of health from Andrews. I think he's a top 3 tight end, right back where we were putting him earlier. And this season, you could get him below the likes of Evan Ingram, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft in some cases, Sam Laporta. I think he's going to eclipse all of these guys.
Yeah, I could easily see it. The ceiling's there. We've seen it before. We've seen him finish as tight end 1 before, which can't say that about a lot of guys during the Travis Kelce era. So
very true. Very true. A couple of questions here before we get to our final hot take for 2025. We talked about Pollard. We talked about Tillman and Jeudy. Jamie talking about his Browns. Real Browns fans don't waste money on team players because they don't last long. We had a buddy in our group chat. He did the Homer Simpson meme where he kind of fades into the bushes wearing a Deshaun Watson jersey and comes back out of the bushes wearing a Quinshon Judkins jersey. I had to look it up for the Browns players. There's also 2 defensive linemen. There's Mike Hall. There's somebody else accused of domestic violence who were arrested this offseason. And then, of course, Isaiah Bond is newly a Cleveland Brown who needs Bond or needed Bond at some point. And there's a guy on the Ravens named Cleveland who was also arrested this offseason. So for Cleveland guys, it just doesn't work out. But yeah, that's some craziness.
Just buy a Myles Garrett jersey and call it a day. Like
100%. Let's answer this one. TreVeyon Henderson, can he finish as a top 10 running back? This is really the line that you have to draw, but it's interesting what side you end up on. Where are you, Ryan?
I think I've talked myself into yes over the past couple weeks. Henderson feels like that guy that can get there weekly top 10 without scoring a touchdown with his reception ability. We've seen Achane do it, although he got more goal line work. I just think Henderson's going to be a focal point of this offense. Of course, you have Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, but are they really major threats? No. Drake May still needs his alpha wide receiver 1. Stephon Diggs will fill in for the meantime, but I think Henderson's going to get a lot of work, and you're not going to be able to keep him off the field. That's the big thing. I mean, Rondre Stevenson's going to be a nice change of pace, but Henderson's going to be so good that he's going to play every down. So
he's looked awesome. As a Pats fan, I'm super excited about it, but I am tempering expectations for our first and, in this case, early second round picks. We have to be very careful about what we believe will happen with these guys in their first year, and if the Patriots staff will be able to handle them. Thankfully, I think we fixed that in the offseason, so it shouldn't really be an issue. But damn, I mean, look, Ramondre, the fumbling stuff, I hear all of that. I don't think he goes away like you referenced, but yeah, this could be prime James White usage from Josh McDaniels and TreVeyon Henderson. If he gets that usage, he's better than James White. Drake May is not Tom Brady, but TreVeyon is more explosive, certainly, than James White and could turn in an excellent season. I would say no to this. I'm going to push back. Maybe I'm just a glass half empty kind of guy, but I think TreVeyon is more top 16 mid-range RB2 than he is RB1 and certainly top 10. If you think maybe he's top 10, Ryan, where do you think he finishes?
I'd say 10. I think he's borderline 9-10 in his rookie year. Yeah. I mean, we saw with the Marion Hampton last night. It's not a good sample size because it's a different offense, different team, different draft capital. But we saw him playing a lion's share of snaps last night. And if TreVeyon Henderson gets those snaps, we also saw Marion Hampton catching the football. Like TreVeyon Henderson can run those plays, easy success. And I think they're going to scheme some looks up for him in week 1. So I'm excited to see what we got with all these rookies. So,
well, here's the thing, and maybe I'll start to believe you a little bit more. Vegas, Miami, Pittsburgh, Carolina in the first month of the season. TreVeyon's got a chance to go nuclear this season, and he's got a great schedule at the beginning of the year in September. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I could see it happening. Maybe we'll get on board here.
Speaking of getting on board, let's get on board with the hottest take that we have. This one belongs to Ryan. I don't know if Ryan believes it's the hottest take that we have, but we'll see.
I
don't. Bryce Young finishes as a quarterback 1 this season. Dave Canales, QB whisperer, whispers a QB1 season to his young signal caller. What do you think, Ryan? Tell us about this one.
Look, I think we saw Bryce Young start to figure it out at the end of last season. Of course, he had some favorable matchups, but that last week against Atlanta, I know it didn't count for fantasy purposes, but he had 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, 36 fantasy points in a 6-point per touchdown league. Like, if that was week 17, we'd all be talking in a much different tune. Obviously, he didn't finish that strong. He still had 202 touchdowns against Tampa Bay the week before that, and then Arizona, he had 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown as well, which I don't think people are talking about enough. I think he has rushing ability. It was displayed at Alabama. Of course, he's not going to be one of these, Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts type of guys, but he can provide what kind of Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert do from a rushing aspect. So I'm in there. He gets Ted McMillan. He gets that alpha finally. The wide receiver 1 target share. Ted's going to get 30%. I was going to put a hot take about him, but I think that ship has sailed. We talked about it enough here already. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about his quarterback. I think Dave Canales has figured out. And then to boot, he gets 6 matchups per year against the Saints, the Buccaneers, and the Falcons. I mean, come on, that's not juicy enough. I believe he has a couple other easy ones. I got to look real quick. He has
Seattle,
Dallas,
not too
fierce.
Dallas,
he has Miami in week 5. He has New England in week 4. Arizona, Will Johnson. He's a very easy schedule. I wrote about it. I just forgot about it, what his schedule was like. So his schedule is very easy. And then at the end there, the playoff stretch, New Orleans, Tampa, Seattle.
Yeah.
It could get juicy if, the offense comes around. My only concern is who's going to be that number 2 guy. Jalen Coker's hurt right now. He'll obviously come back in 4 weeks, and hopefully he'll be that slot guy that gets the looks. Xavier Legette, I'm not quite convinced that he's the truth yet. We'll see about that. Adam Thielen's gone, which, I probably would believe in this hot take a little more if Adam Thielen was still there, but he is not. But I still think Bryce Young could have a low-end quarterback 1 season. I mean, he's definitely not going to outscore the likes of Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert, which we saw last night putting a masterclass, or Pat Mahomes if he has the guys there. But I think he could sneak into that QB1 conversation based on schedule, and QBs take time to figure it out in this league. We've seen it with Josh Allen, of course, Jalen Hurts. They're both outliers. But, these quarterbacks are starting to figure out, and that's why these senior guys are doing so good when they come in the league. Joe Burrow looked impressive. Justin Herbert played a couple years at Oregon. Jayden Daniels played at Arizona State and LSU. Mm-hmm. So these guys gain experience, and they start to look better, and he is a perfect head coach to do that. So I'd say a QB 10 to 12 finish for Bryce Young's in the cards this year.
I like that one. Very interesting. Jamie is saying, keep an eye on Jimmy Horn. I'm going to keep my eye on Hunter Renfrow. One of those 2 guys is going to pop with Jalen Coker out. Xavier Legette has proven it's not going to be him. Jatavian Sanders, who knows how healthy he is after that nasty neck thing that he had to deal with last season. There's a lot of weapons here. We just don't know how it's going to shake out. I think he's going to have a great week 1. Like you said, I think he gets there on rushing. I think over time, we hope that some of these guys develop to give him that viable 3rd option. Really think the 2nd option is going to be Chuba Hubbard, not in overall targets by the end of the year, but certainly at the beginning of the season as everybody's kind of shaking out where they're going to go. Chuba Hubbard is going to get a ton in the passing game, and I love Chuba Hubbard this season. I think he's going to absolutely smash. But yeah, this is why we love Tet, because there's nobody else. I'm going Renfrow. If you want to go Jimmy Horn, you can go Jimmy Horn. I don't think anyone is going Xavier Legette. Why not? He's free. Take a shot, figure it out. But yeah, Bryce Young, absolute stud here in 2025. But if I'm picking a QB to be a QB1, I'm going to go the guy he's playing week 1, Trevor Lawrence. With all of those weapons, new system, I'll go Trevor Lawrence. Not as hot of a take, but he was being taken near Bryce Young in fantasy drafts, especially 1 QB redrafts this offseason. So.
It's kind of crazy considering his supporting cast is just so much better, he's got an offensive guru too. So we'll see how it goes. I think they could both be QB1s. The QB1, absolutely. The high range seems solidified with these guys, that are always there, but that low range feels like there could be a lot of, mixing and matching throughout the season. So we'll see how that shakes out.
For sure. We're going to get out of here in 1 second, but Mr. Magic has one more question for us. Let's talk about QJ just overall being productive on a bad team. A bad team with an offensive line that is no longer elite, still good, but not what they were a couple years ago in terms of this ridiculous road grading, run blocking unit. The defense is fantastic, but can QJ be, the guy that you want to fire up as your RB2 every single week? Or do you think it's just more growing pain, Dylan Sampson afford to eat in, the team isn't as good? How do you see this Cleveland backfield shaking out?
I think Judkins is going to be the guy. They drafted him to be the guy. I mean, it might be slow to ramp him up considering he missed all this time. So maybe temper your expectations before the season or early in the season. It's just, who else are going to give the ball to? I mean, you drafted the guy that high. You're going to give him the ball. As long as Flacco's the quarterback, the offense is going to move. I could sit here. I know Jamie says, why get out of here when you could talk for another 2 hours? I could talk for another 2 hours on how Andrew Berry and the GM of the Cleveland Browns has absolutely fumbled that offensive line. I mean, it was so good in the past, and then they just said, "Hey, let's get no young guys in here that could, succeed these old guys. Let's get no young talent in here. Let's just keep these old guys and let's just keep turning them over."
Yeah.
I could do an hour on that. It's just a roster mismanagement, but I think that Judkins gonna be a weekly flex at least, and then if he starts to fall in the end zone, if Flacco continues to stay the quarterback, I think you could get into RB2 territory. But where you've taken him in drafts, especially before the whole legal situation popped up,
yeah,
you're okay with whatever you get from him, because like I said, round 10 in my redraft league, that feels perfectly fine. So
yeah,
round 8, round 9,
agree with that.
10, you're taking.
Agree with that. Andrew Berry, you said fumbled the bag. Andrew Berry is like putting together the longest yard prison football team here in Cleveland. Oh man, it's looking pretty ridiculous. I'm surprised that Andrew Berry still has a job. I thought that he was going to be, a really good hire, really good for the team, but just every step of the way, that the Watson deal after those allegations were approaching 100, different allegations for Watson, and then everything that has transpired. Kevin Stefanski should be long gone. Stefanski, I think, is an average head coach, but at the same time, it's not working for this team. They need really a defensive mind with all of these defensive players. You got to kick him out, bring somebody in who can whip this defense into shape, make them the best defense in the league, because they had that opportunity, and then just figure it out on offense. I don't know what they're doing, but Andrew Berry has made it clear that he just has no clue how to manage this team and figure it out. Unfortunately, hate to say that, but not a fan.
Not a fan either. I think Stefanski's a better coach than what you're giving him credit for. I think he's had nothing to work with, because Andrew Berry continues to give him nothing to work with. So he's out there with Jameis Winston. I mean, he was cooking last season with Winston. Yeah. So
listen, Jamie would rather have Matthew Berry than Andrew Berry. I hear Matthew Berry is coming available at the end of the season, so he may look to.
Might give him a call.
Right, he did his final love-hate article this offseason. So not sure what's next for Matthew Berry, but obviously he's probably just going to run his conglomerate company that he's building for fantasy and live off of his incredible talent and mogul status. Could be worse. Why would Matthew Berry GM the Browns when he can just sit back and collect a paycheck? No need for all that stress.
No need for all that stress. I mean, being the GM of the Cleveland Browns can give a lot of stress to anyone. So,
absolutely. We are going to get out of here on that. A couple of things. First of all, I don't have it here for some reason, but we have a Discord. Please join it if you are interested. It's in the description of all of our videos. You can go over to Twitter right now and just click the link tree and jump in there. We're just talking ball. Ryan's in there. Of course, everybody else from the FFU, myself, it's Jesse Muller, S.C. Romero, Dynasty Dogs, Rich and Mike, Spencer Buckley, a bunch of other guys, content creators, people who are super knowledgeable in the space, and we just talk ball. We do this, give you the advice on your rosters, all of the decisions you have to make. We do this, once a week. We do that every day in there. So feel free to join us on the Discord. The second thing is, if you haven't used Fast Draft, I think there's still drafts going on. Go check it out. Certainly tonight, there's drafts going on before everything fires up. If you get bored tonight, go ahead and have a free $25 on us. Just use promo code FFU. You pay $25, you get $25. You pay $10, you get $10. So it's free money however you want to use it. Just use that promo code. Check it out. Underdog, but faster and more interesting, different contests as well. You can draft all rookies if you want. Because
Fast Draft, there's a skill kind of gap there, because not only do you draft your players, which I forgot to set these multipliers for the season, but you have to set the multipliers for the game scores, so you could draft George Kittle in the third and put him as your 2x in the first round. So it's a lot of strategy going on there.
100%. Gotta love it. We gotta love you, but we gotta go. Jamie, appreciate you. You rock. Cleveland rocks. Hopefully they rock it this weekend. We'll see. if they can beat the Bengals, but they are doing everything they can to do so. So for Ryan, I am Jeremy. We are the Fantasy Football Universe. Check us out everywhere, but specifically on YouTube. That's really what we're trying to push. We'd love a like, follow, subscribe, whatever you want there on TikTok, on Twitter. If you like this content, we are here every Saturday with this roundtable show. We'll do some content. We'll answer some questions. We've got a bunch of shows coming up, but the biggest one we have is our Start Sit show tomorrow, 11:30 a.m., 90 minutes before kickoff of your NFL games. That is a massive one. Jump in, get your last minute start sit decisions clarified. It's going to be a number of people. And once again, it's just going to be, I think we got 4 or 5 guys on that show for you this week to hash out all your questions. So jump on in, talk to us. We're doing this every day, content for you to help you win your league. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to stop talking and get out of here. So long.
FFU. FFU.